Page 88 on the very bottom. It's 5 lines from the bottom of the page, Peichet Amud Bet. We have now a discussion here, a situation that in a Paschal lamb they have 5 people, and it's an issue that they found some blemish in one of the lambs. So they said, Amar Maru pturim milasot Pesach Sheni. So we said that they are exempt from going again on the 14th day of month of Iyar to bring the second Paschal lamb. So the Gemarrah asks, Va'ika chad delo nafik. There is one owner of the 5 that he did not fulfill properly his obligation. Why? Because his Korban, his offering, contain something that is blemish. So, if that's the case, why we don't obligate the entire group, the whole 5, to bring second Pesach, or the 14th of Iyar, since each and every one of them is in a state of quandary. Maybe he is not, maybe he is not fulfilling his obligation at the first Pesach. So the Gemarrah said, Mishum de lo ifshar. So, Heichel Avi, he said in a practical way, how should they go about? We're at the very bottom of Peichet Amud Bet, 88b. So how? Leite kol chad vechad Pesach. If, since you are in a state of uncertainty, so maybe each and every one will bring his own Paschal lamb, which means this applied to the second, the 14th of Iyar, which means that some of them kamaitei chulin la'azara. You have to remember that in the korbanot, in the offering, there are categories. If the korban, the offering, is not consecrated, it's called chulin. We do not bring offering to the temple courtyard if it's not in use. The arba'a minayu avdei lehu. 4 out of 5 already fulfill the mitzvah the first Pesach. Laite kulu chad Pesach, maybe all the 5 registered in one Paschal lamb, and bring it. In that sense, you don't have concern that you bring chulin, you bring unconsecrated animal to the courtyard. So guess what? Nimtza Pesach ne'echal shelo limnuyah. Part of the obligation in Pesach, remember that each registered person on that offering needs to eat it. And you have here 4 out of 5 that they're not registered because they already fulfilled their obligation. By the way, that's applied not only for the first Pesach, it's applied also for the second one. That you have to have people who registered for that Pesach offering, and it has to be part of the group. Hi, my. What's the claim that they cannot bring the second Pesach? Naite kol chad minayu pischo. If each of them will bring in the second Pesach his own Paschal lamb, v'naite v'neima, and he bring over and said, Ididi balmum, if mine contain a blemish, which means I did not fulfill my obligation at the first Pesach, Hai de aite hashta neheve Pesach. What I am bringing now should be a Paschal lamb. V'ididi tam, and if mine is tam, meaning is contain no blemish, meaning that I already fulfill my obligation of the offering of Pesach, Hai de aite hashta neheve shlamim, As you know, in the korbanot, the process, there are some korbanot offering, it's called shlamim, that it's like a peace offering, it's an additional offering. So the Gemara said, lo efshar, you cannot you can't do that. Peitet 89, mishum de'ika chazeh v'shok the kohanim hu de'achlele. Part of the offering, it's contain chazeh and shock. It's a breast and a hind leg. So the kohanim eats that part. So if they bring their offering that become a peace offering instead of paschal lamb, they cannot fulfill their mitzvah of eating this breast and hide, because each of them, they have an issue that it may be a paschal lamb. So therefore they cannot feed the kohen if he's not registered on that. Another issue, the Yavet said, you cannot have notar. One of the things that in this type of korbanot, we're not allowed to have a leftover. So you can leave the breast and the hind over. That's called notar. So therefore, v'naite kol chad v'chad kohen ba'adei. So how about this idea? Very creative, innovative idea. Let each one of these 5 bring a kohen with him, and he appointed his kohen on his paschal lamb, and then the kohen will eat the breast and the other part, the hind. So he said, "Hi kohen echedame." What type of kohen we are speaking here? I de avid Pesach. If we talk about kohen that bring the first Pesach, Dilma Hai Pesach, maybe one of those offering is Pesach. ונמצא פסח נאכל שלא למנויה. It turns that this paschal lamb can be eaten with people who are not registered, because when the kohen eats it, he already fulfilled the mitzvah of eating the paschal lamb. So therefore the registration of that paschal lamb carry no meaning. Ve'id lo avid Pesach, if for some reason he did not fulfill the first Pesach, Dilma, we have uncertainty, maybe this offering shlamimu, maybe this is a peace offering. Velo avid Pesach, which means that now he did not do any type of korban Pesach. So they said, "V'naite kol chamisha chad kohen delo avad Pesach." So they go around, they search for a kohen that didn't do the first Pesach, and they let them bring him. V'nimane aleihan chamisha psachim, and they appointed each one of these paschal lamb with the appointed kohen. The mima nafshach. Either way, ikacha delo avid Pesach. You have one of them that did not make the first Pesach, which means that now his offering, his korban, is paschal lamb and not peace offering. Vekan nafkeba, and the kohen fulfill his obligation of paschal lamb. So in that sense, the kohen can eat the breast and the hind of each and every 5 korbanot, 4 of them because of the breast and the hind of the peace offering, and 1 is as a paschal lamb. So because of that, the Gemarrah, in a sense, backed out the original idea that they cannot have a precondition that this particular paschal lamb or peace offering is part of the breast and the hind that you need to feed the kohanim. And they said another reason. Ela, the reason is mishum dekamema'et ba'achilat shlamim, that you reduce the of the peace offering. Why? Ve'ilu Pesach leyom v'layla. Even the time of eating Pesach lamb is at the eve of 15 of Nisan. So the Gemarrah said it means leyom v'layla. As you know, we count the full 24 hours, because as long as he's part of that time, he's not become notar, not left over. So it means if you go that way, so the reason that after that, if it left as a notar, left over, so you need to burn it. ואילו שלמים לשני ימים ולילה אחד. But the peace offering, if you have any meat left over from any of the 5 offerings up to the first morning, so what did he do now? He's going to burn it because he is a state of uncertainty. Maybe it's a Paschal lamb. We still have a concern that maybe the truth is not Paschal lamb, is shlamim, is a peace offering, and therefore it's still valid. It means that he is burning now consecrated kosher offering, which again is a problem. So the Gemarrah said, "V'naitei motar haPesach." Motar haPesach meaning if you have an offering that someone consecrated it for the purpose of the Paschal lamb, and eventually for some reason it wasn't brought as a Paschal lamb. Give me an example. Let's say if it lost, and he brought another one instead of that one, and then all of a sudden they found that one. It happens, they have a mass production of offering, can happen, right? That's the Meiri idea. So V'neima, and he make a condition. He said, Ididi balmum, if mine carry blemish, haide aite hashta neheve Pesach. What I'm bringing now will be a Paschal lamb. Ididi tamu, if mine is free of blemish, neheve haide aite hashta shlamim. It will be what I'm bringing now as a peace offering. It's like leftover of the Paschal lamb. And he said, "Motar Pesach ne'echal leyom ve'layla echad." What left over from the Paschal lamb, you can eat it the same as Paschal itself, which is the day and the following night. So he said, if you do that, we don't have that claim, as we said earlier, that a person cannot condition that the Paschal lamb or the peace offering have a different at the time of their eating. So they said, "V'chi mafrishin tchila lemotarot." So the Gemarrah challenged, said, can we designate animal initially as a extra Paschal lamb, which means there is a concept which called hachalat kedusha. Let's talk for a second about it. Someone bringing an offering, and while he's bringing the offering, he announced that this is an offering for so and so and so. The moment that announcement took place, guess what happened?
It's more public.
What? It's public, but moreover, it carries kedusha. It's sanctified. It's sanctified. So now you cannot sanctify something that it's leftover of Paschal lamb. So he said, if it's unclear, if it's not clear what you designated this offering, which means maybe it's already over, because maybe they already did the first Pesach. So now, because you have a state of uncertainty, you cannot sanctify this animal for the purpose of maybe a Paschal lamb. In other words, you cannot do that as a surplus Paschal lamb. It's not motar. It's anything that you sanctify, and somehow it's left over, but you cannot sanctify it in advance something that it's going to be left over. Okay? So the Gemarrah continues, said, "V'nitrichu v'naitei motar Pesach." So let them search for people that already sanctified an animal for Pesach and something left over, and they take from them. Or you take the money that was sanctified for the purpose of Paschal lamb and purchase animal with that. So in other words, they can make condition. If mine carry blemish, so now it will be a real Pesach. If not, it's left over. So that's the view of Rashi. Tosfot challenged us. And Tosfot said that the real truth is that if the Paschal lamb have a time that they have no honor, which means, for example, if all the registered people backed off, so you cannot use it anymore for Paschal lamb. So they have an issue with that, and the Chazon Ish elaborate on that in Kuf Kav Dalet 124. Anyway, Ela mishum smicha. As we said, when you bring an offering, the owner needs to place his hand at the top of the offering, and most of the offering the owner needs before the shechita, before the slaughtering, to place the hand.
Is that like the duchening that you do?
Not duchening, it's just placing the hand, and they do. It's like they express themselves. They said that the confession, if for example is a sin offering, so the owner come with the offering, he places his hand on the offering, and he confess. Or if it's a burn offering or a guilt offering.
Oh, not the Kohen, the owner himself.
The owner, or if it's a shlamim, if it's a peace offering, they come and they place their hand and they thank God for all the goodness, or if it's a Thanksgiving offering. So in other words, part of the process is the idea that the owner place their hands on the offering and either confess or thank God for that. That's Rambam, Hilchot Maaseh Korbanot, chapter 3, explain it. But anyway, so they said, the ilu Pesach lo ba'esmicha. When it's come to Paschal lamb, you do not have the owner place the hand and do that. You do not have confession here, and you don't have Thanksgiving here, right? The ilu mutar, but whatever left over from the Pesach, which is what? That is a peace offering, ba'esmicha. You need to have placing the hand, and if he cannot place the hand because he's in a quandary, he is not sure what is it, because if it's Pesach, if it's a Paschal lamb, so you do unnecessary smicha of your hand. So you can do that in the consecrated item. So they said, if you just use it, if you don't place your hand for something that is not necessary, it's a problem. So Tosfot said it's a big question if it's allow or not allow smicha bekodashim. My father wrote a book. It's called many years ago. It's called Sugyot bekodashim, and he is a long mahalach, a long explanation based on the Gemarrah and Chagiga Tetzayin, dealing with that. When you're allowed to place your hand, and not when it's come to kodashim. Anyway, hatinach korban anashim. That's applied to a male offering, that you need to place the hand and confess or thanks. Korban nashim ma'ika lemeimah, which means by halacha, when women bringing the offering, is no need to place the hands and to express this confession, etc. So even if it's come as the peace offering, the Meiri said. So they said, Ela mishum matanot. So the reason that they cannot put the condition, it's because that the gift of the blood, which means they have Paschal lamb and peace offering, two different matnot dam. The ilu bepesach matana achat. If you talk about Paschal lamb, the blood of Paschal lamb apply only one presentation. The blood of the peace offering is applied to the altar with ואילו שלמים 2 שהם 4, which means the leftover from Pesach is 2, that there are 4. That if you remember, every morning we said it, that they put it on the northeast, southwest of the altar. So it's come out to all different corners. My nafkamina. What's the difference? Ve'atnan, we learn in the Mishnah in Zvachim, page 36, Kol hanitanin al mizbach hachitzon. All the offering whose blood must be presented upon the outer altar, shentanan b'matan echad, if the Kohen brought them just in one presentation, kiper, has a tone, even they do several. So it means that they can bring the blood in one time, even it's 2 that there are 4, but the avad, after the fact, it will be okay. Ela, the reason that you cannot make those conditions, mishum de'ilu pesach bishficha ve'ilu shlamim bizrika, because the blood of the Paschal lamb must be applied to the altar by pouring it on the base of the altar, and the blood of the peace offering is applied by sprinkling it upon the altar. My nafkamina. What's the difference between the two? Ve'atanya kol hanitanim bizrika. All those blood that sprinkling shentanan bishficha, that he applied the blood by pouring, yatsa, which means again it's after the fact, is okay. So they can do that, can pour it. So Eimar de Ka'amrinan say that we explain that the reason that he poured it instead of sprinkling it, the i'ava, that if it's after the fact, lechatchila nami, but lechatchila as we wish at the first place, for sure not. So what we see here? We see here that even a peace offering after the fact, you can do it in one time, but you should not do it lechatchila. So let's wrap up all of our understanding of this sugya. You have 5 people, and that people, the Paschal lamb mix between the 5, and they found some blemish in one of them. Even the owner of the one who carried the blemish, for sure not fulfill the obligation of bringing a Paschal lamb. They're all exempt from the second Pesach, which is the 14th of Iyar, because in any way they do it, they have some issue of violations, such as 1, if each of them will bring his own independent second Pesach, it may be that person already fulfilled, so he bring unconsecrated item to the temple courtyard. Second option, if they bringing one Paschal lamb for everyone, they cannot eat it. Why? Because each of them have the state of uncertainty. Maybe he already fulfilled the mitzvah of Paschal lamb at the first one, so that option it's not applicable. Or if each of them will bring his own independent animal, and he put a condition that if he did not fulfill his obligation of bringing the Paschal lamb, this one should be a peace offering, we have a concern that maybe it's come to burn his meat before it's become leftover, and as a result, again, it's in violation. And the fourth option is if each of them make an effort that find something that left over from the Paschal lamb, and he put a condition that if this me that I have the obligation to bring Paschal lamb, this should be mine. You cannot do smicha like that when it's come to peace offering, because maybe this is a Paschal lamb that is exempt from that. So Tosfot have an issue, because Tosfot said that b'diavad, after the fact, it's okay. So he explained that it's better to do dichui mitzvah for something that it's safek karet. Anyway, Mishnah, haomer lebanav, someone who said to his kids, הריני שוחט את הפסח על מי שיעלה מכם ראשון לירושלים. So the children will go to Yerushalayim after the father bring the offering of Pesach. So it means that he appointed someone, only someone who get there first, and not all the other. כיוון שהכניס הראשון ראשו ורובו, when the first son enter his head and his majority of his body into Yerushalayim, זכה בחלקו ומזכה את אחיו עמו. He has already acquired his portion, and therefore all his brother already acquired with him. So the Gemarrah later asks how that can be. Anyway, Shma mina yesh brera. You remember yesterday we have a discussion, and we said we asked if it's a retroactive act or not, because the time of the slaughtering, it's not clear yet if which son is going to enter first, and after they entered, you have here a retroactive act that the father is the one who appointed on this Paschal lamb, and when he does that at the time of slaughtering, so it means only at the time of the slaughtering that condition can be fulfilled. But if you say that ein brera, so you can't say, because what happened in the future is not applicable. So again, that contradicts what we said before. So again, let's make it very clear for everyone. What's the difference between yesh brera and ein brera? If someone bringing a offering of Pesach, he needs to make it clear, make condition clear, statement clear. What's the plan? Mm-hmm. If it wasn't made clear, then if things happen later, those who said yesh brera, we accept retroactive act, which means we have the assumption that that's go even for the time before they slaughter it. The one who said ein brera, not retroactive act, you go by the current position. אמר רבי יוחנן כדי לזרזן במצוות כאמר. Rabbi Yochanan said, you know why it happened? They want to have them vigilant and enthusiastic fulfilling mitzvot.
Right.
But basically at the time of slaughtering he appointed all of them, regardless to the one who come there first or come there last. So he meant to say that the one who gets first will be the head of all of his sons.
Can I ask a question? Does the Birkas Kohanim, I know this is a different subject, but does that have anything to do with this at all, or the No.
No. Not at all.
No.
די קנה מדקתני, ומזכה אחיו עמו. So he appointed his brothers with him. היא אמר בישלמה דאמנינו מעיקרא. שפיר, if you tell me that he acquire on behalf of these brothers their portion together with him, so it's fine. So therefore we have all these people who registered. But if you tell me that the father did not appoint them as the first place, it's just the one who get there first to Yerushalayim, and only after the first one enter, you understand retroactively that that's apply from the original appointment of the father, and then he share all the other with him, appointed all the other with him, the Meiri said, Levatar de shachit mika mitmanu. How you appointed people or registered people after you already slaughtered. Remember, there's a process, and all these appointment and names and registrations need to take place in advance, before the slaughtering. Ve'atnan nimnin umoshchin yedehem mimenu. We learn that they basically registered and withdraw themselves from being registered of the Paschal Lamb. Ad sheishachet, which means, remember, all of that apply, these games that you appointed, you registered, and then you backed off, etc. That apply up to the time that you slaughtered. Okay? But after it's slaughtered, you cannot register people on that. So it means that the father appointed all of his son at the first place. And it's not mentioned this first one that reached Yerushalayim, only in order to enthuse them, right, to do mitzvot. So the Gemarrah in Nedarim 36 said that it's applied to young children. So they do it even without registration by the Torah law. Because by Torah law it's not applicable to them, they are minors. Anyway, Shma Mina, that's really what we understand from the Mishnah. Tanina me'achi, ma'aseh, it's a situation that the father said to his sons, I'm going to slaughter the Paschal Lamb for whoever go first to Yerushalayim. And he has sons and daughters. Vekidmu banot labanim. The daughters were fast runners, or whatever it is. They have the fast donkeys in those days. Alright? Venimtza banot zrizot ubanim shfeli. So he turned to the daughter, were very enthusiastic, when the son demonstrated that they were lazy. So it means that the sons have part of the Paschal Lamb, because the father intends to have everyone part of this, and the only reason he said he appointed the first one is to make them do it quickly. Mishnah. לעולם נמנין עליו עד שיהיה בו כזית לכל אחד ואחד. The condition that you have this registration is to have each and every member of the group can eat at least the size of olive bark. Nimnin, those who want to register on that Pesach, those who want to be appointed, ומושכים ידיהם ממנו, and they withdraw themselves from being registered for the Paschal Lamb, ad sheishachet, until it's slaughtered. Which means, after it's slaughtered, you cannot change the registration. Rabbi Shimon omer, ad sheyizrok et adam. Rabbi Shimon said, that's apply only until he sprinkled the blood. So the Rashi said later, the Gemara explained that Rabbi Shimon is only disagree in regard to state of annulling this registration, but he agreed that all this registration process apply only up to the time of the slaughtering. The moment you slaughter the animal, it's over. Ma'ika mashmela, what did the Mishnah come to teach us? Because it's obvious that several people can appoint it on the Pesach. You take a group of people, each of them chips in, and as long as they have an olive bark size for every one of them, they can have a large group. So that even all of them appointed one, and then they backed off, חוזר ונמנים עליו חבורה אחרת. So it means, Rabbi Yehuda held originally that if you have a group A, and that group has to stick as a group, and that's it. Here we said, no, that other group can appoint at this group if the first people backed off. נמנים ומושכים את ידיהם עד שישחט. So they said that people can be registered and withdraw themselves from being registered for the Paschal Lamb until its slaughter. So they said, Amar Abaye, machloket, the disputation between Chachamim and Rabbi Shimon, limashech. So only in regards to withdraw, which means the Rabbanan Savri, that the sages hold from that pasuk in Exodus and Shmot, chapter 12, V'im yib'at habayit miyot miseh, from being from a lamp. So it means that michayutedese, as long as the lamb is alive, which is preceding the slaughtering. The Rabbi Shimon Savar mehavayatedese, that from the current situation, as long as the work, the avoda, did not complete it, so it's part of that. Aval limanot, ba to register, divrei hakol ad shishachet. Everyone agreed that the bottom line, the last time, is until the slaughtering time. The Amarkra b'michsat nefashot, because the pasuk said according to the number of the people, which means that applied to registration. Ve'adar, and then they said tachosu, you shall make your count. So you slaughter, which means that you have to have registration before slaughtering. So they said, Tanya nameachi, we learn also in the Braita, nimnim v'shochtim edeyam mimenu ad sheishachet. They said the people can register and withdraw themselves from being registered for a Paschal Lamb until it is slaughtered. Rabbi Shimon אומר, נמנים עד שישחט ומושכים עד שיזרק הדם. Rabbi Shimon says they can be registered until it's slaughtered and withdraw themselves from being registered until the Kohen sprinkle the blood. פ"ט עמוד ב' 89b הממנה עמו אחר בחלקו. Now we talk about dynamics with people, relationship with people. Group of people get together, registered for the Paschal Lamb. Now one guy appointed someone for his portion without the consent of everyone else. Do you ever know people, for example, those who live in Florida know it. There is a development, is an area, you have, each of them need to partake of the security fees, gardening fees, etc. And they have rules and regulations. So for example, if they go away and they want to rent this place, in some development they need to have the consent of the members of the board or members of the community, right? Mm-hmm. And basically there are some rules that they cannot let someone else rent their whatever it is, townhouse or whatever it is, without the consent of everyone else. Correct?
Condo associations.
Yes. Associations.
Condo associations.
That's right.
Or
So
community association.
Homeowners
Like we,
Homeowners.
all
we
of
are
Very good.
we are living that way.
That's right. Okay. So now you have a group of people that are registered together for a Paschal Lamb. And you have Mr. Reuven that he took Shimon and he said, I'm giving you my part and no one else know about it. רשאים בני חבורה ליתן לו את שלו. So they allow the other members to tell him, take your portion, go you and your guests to a different location and eat it independently. Because you remember we said that we eat it together. והוא אוכל משלו והם אוכלים משלהם. He eat by himself and the other eats by themselves. Okay? So the Meiri explained, and he said, imagine a situation that you have a group of 10 people, and one of them, he put others on his part. So the other members have the right to say, you take your portion, 1/10 of the meat, and you should eat it with your guests in different locations. So basically, they allow, according to this Tana, to divide it to two groups, to two chavurot. Usually, we don't do that. Remember, we said the Rambam said in Hilchot Korban Pesach, chapter 9, that we don't divide it to groups. But here, they said if he appointed someone instead of him, they can do that. If Ba'alehu, so the Gemara asks, Bnei Chavura shayu yadav shel echad mehem yafot. That's a euphemism. They said that their hands was nice, which means that one of them was a guy that liked to eat a lot. And he quick to eat a lot, different fellow. So they don't want, the Gemara doesn't want to use that term. So they imply indirectly, you know, they use someone who has a nice hands, you know, like you go to some kiddushim, you see fellows fill up 2 plates, right? And many cases they don't even eat it, right? You guys look at me like I'm from Mars, right? But I think we understand each other, right?
Yes, yes.
So they said, "Ma shiomru lo, tol chelkecha v'tzeh." If the other member of the group can say to him, "Take your portion and go and eat it independently," mi amrinan. Now we explain the state of uncertainty. Do we say, "Matze amar lehu hakabiltun"? You accepted me to your group without condition, so I can eat according to whatever I'm able in exchange for the money I paid. Or dilma matzu lemeimarle, or maybe they can turn to him and said, "Ki kablinan," what the reason that when we are receiving you is letakunei zvicha, in order to prepare for the zvicha, which is for the offering, but not to get to a point that we have left over, and we figured out that your part is basically equal to all the others. Adata de'achalt feiminach l'kablina. We did not take you to be a guy that, how do you call it in English? That he eats...
A glutton? I don't know.
Glutton, right. If we know that you are glutton, we don't take you in our team, in our group, right? Right? Because, whatever. Did you ever...
They eat more than what would be a normal share.
Did you ever attend to a kiddush and you see people come there and there's very little food left or there's no food left because you have the first people who jump there and fill up a lot on their plates? Maybe I'm different, but I have an attitude in all these kiddushim, or in general, to put very little on my plate. And I have this attitude that if I finish my plate, then I'll go back to a second. Other than that, I'm not. But maybe it's me, I don't know. You see people like they never eat before, you know, to me it's amazing. It's one of the things I never understand. I'm not speaking about people who are poor, I'm speaking of people who are very well to do.
Some people just big eater. I don't know.
I remember
There's a lot of emotion behind eating.
Once several years ago, I went with a grandma. I went to, I was a scholar in resident on they call them Kosher Rika. It's like celebrity cruise.
Oh, yeah.
And I went there, what it was, I think it was 7 or 8 years ago. And I went to all those places, Puerto Rico, Bahamas, all these, and I lecture, I gave several lectures. So I remember like every hour and a half, they announce that in a different location there is food and people are rushing to eat.
2004 you went.
Yes, and they have like 6-7 meals a day.
It's like in Pesach, a lot of times if you go to the hotels on Pesach, what they do is they have the meals for for the Siddurim, the Seders, and right after the meals, they have a tea room that opens up with cookies and cake, and everybody lines up, to try, and it's round, it's like 24/7. They're all like, so.
But I saw there how people eat, which I never in my life saw before. I mean, there is a new food, there is a new cakes, there's a new things, there's a new dish,
Right.
and it's in the floor, so and so, and everyone rushed to eat it. And I couldn't get it. I didn't get it. I meant
They usually have this every year, right? Like a Pesach trip.
they have all kind of trips.
All different
Yeah,
types.
yeah.
Yeah, they do this like all different types.
Anyway, so Tashma. So now we try to reconcile this issue. הממנה אחרים עמו על חלקו. If someone appointed others for his portion, רשאים בני חבורה ליתן לו את שלו. The member of the group allowed to give him his portion, said, take your portion, and you shall go out, you and your guests, to a different location, and eat it independently. והוא אוכל את שלו, והם אוכלים את שלהם. Each of them eat independently by themselves. מהי טעמה? What's the reason that they can take him out? לאו משום דהבה לי כי ידיים של אחד מהם יפות. It's that because of what? That the hand, they have a fine hand. Again, remember that it's just a
Means they take a lot.
take a lot, right? He said, ויסקלתך ידיו יפות מצה אמר לו, קבלתו נאה והי כידיו יפות. I receive you with a condition that it's like someone who have a nice hand. So, which means that someone who eats a lot cannot say it, and other members can force him out. Amri lo, the old shani, the opinion when it's other, that they are not, they join the other group. If you tell me that even both of them, he and his guest, they're eating like all the other members of the Chabura, which means that both of them eats one portion only, the other members can say, we don't want a stranger with us, because he delayed the whole meal. They cause the meal to be an issue, so they create a fight within the time of the meal. So they can say, the Tosfot also the discussion here, that they can use the condition, not condition with this guy, right? Tashma, השמש שאכל כדאית בשר, בצד התנור. The assistant come and he ate the size of olive bark for something that while it's roasted, the pascalam, he ate it from the side of the oven. אם היה פיקח, if he is smart, ממלא קרסו ממנה. Guess what? He eats a lot from that part close to the stove. Why? Because after he goes to the place that everyone else, he needs to serve them, he cannot eat there. Because a person cannot eat in both places. ואם רצו בני חבורה לעשות טובה עמו, but if the members wants to do him a favor, באים ויושבים בצדו ואוכלים. They come and eat next to him, and that דברי רבי יהודה. So in order for him to eat with them. רצו אין, it's only if they wish to. לא רצו לא. If they don't wish to, no. והמה, what's the reason? נעימה לו הקבלתון. You may say that you accepted me to eat with you the Paschal, so why? So we can eat together. So they said, Shane atam da'amri lei, ki kablinach. They said to him, when we accepting you, adata de nitrechan kaman. So we took you as our assistant waiter to serve us. Lemidran lach lidar lo kablinan. But to impose upon us to go and be with them, it's not applicable. That's the same as a guy that have a fine hands. It's the same issues. Someone told me that once he walks in a place that there is a caterer and Shabbos, and they prepare the chont and all these foods in the kitchen, right? So sometimes before he walk out with those plates.
Oh, I tell you, what happened was that it was the cake. we had a kiddush and we were preparing the platter, and by the time I got to the table with the cake, the platter was empty because everybody was taking stuff. And the cholent also, when I was walking with the cholent over my head, like everybody was like following you, but the minute you put the cholent in the bin, you better get back quick because everybody dives in.
תשמע, בני חבורה שהיה ידיו של אחד מהם יפות. The member of the group that one has a fine hand. Now we understand already what is a fine hand. רשאים לומר, טול כרכך וצא, take your part and get out. ולא עוד, אלא אפילו 5 אנשים ועשו סיבולת. סיבולת is just a regular feast together, which means each one chips in, right, 1/5 of the cost. רשאים לומר לו, טול וצא לך שמע מינה. So that's the conclusion, that they can tell him, someone who has a fine hand, take your part and get out. מאי ולא עוד, what's the bright amen, it's not more. לא מבעיה כאמר לו מבעיה פסח דמצי אמרלה, כי קבלין תקולין סביחה, אבל אלא אפילו סיבולת נמי, but if it's just a regular, just סיבולת meal, not, so the tzavta be'almahu, that it's they're all together, in order to have all these members, שאין לומר לו תור ככה וצא, the same way, they can take your part and get out. דאיכא דאמרי, הלא היא בעיה לן. So it's not so simple to take it. אלא הכי הוא דיבה אלן. בני חבורה רשאים לחלק בנה ראשונים. The big question is not to force someone else, but if they're allowed to divide it, or they're not allowed to divide it. Because if there is no special reason to do it. תשמע, בני חבורה שהיה אחד של מהם יפות, one of the member has a fine hand, רשאים לומר לו תור לחקך וצא, ידיו יפות אין, ידיו לא. So in other words, that's apply only if they have someone who behave like that. But if it's not an issue, so they're not supposed to divide it, and they have to eat together as a group. Shema mina, that's the conclusion. So in other words, again, the point is we're not dividing it and make it a separate group. Now, I bring a story. רב פאפא ורב הונא בן רב יהושע הריבו ריפתא בעדי הדדי. They mix, all these rabbis mix the bread together in order to share it between them. So, meaning again, as we said earlier, that each of them partake with the cost. עד דאכיל רב הונא בן רב יהושע חדה, until one of them eat his part. אכיל רב פאפא 4. So another one ate 4 pieces. Okay? Like, you have a big pizza, and one guy ate half of the pizza, right? Amar le, Rav Huna said to the other guy, plag li. Amar le kabiltun. So you accepted me to be part of the group, so I can eat as much as I like to. So in other words, imagine you have a pizza, cost, how much pizza cost? I'm not eating it, so you have to tell me. Let's see, what is it?
$15. $15 for a large.
So you have $15, and you have 5 guys that pay, each of them pay $3, okay? And one guy came in and eat half or 3/4 of the pizza. And he said, well, I participate with that, I pay my part, right? So they said, Amar lei, kibaltun, you accepted me. So he asked all this question that we asked earlier, that we said again, that that in the Mishnah you can force him out because they don't want strangers with him, but it's not applied to the shamash, as we said, that you cannot force them anyway. 80. So he asked from the third soul, Bnei Chavura, if you have a group and one of them has a fine hand, Amar le'atam, as Rav Papa said over there, Da'amre lei, we took you in order not to have leftover. 80 bei sibolet. What about the regular sudas chulin, just a regular meal? So they can say to someone who's have a fine hand, plag lei, split and give this part to him. Azal ariv, ba'ad ravina, ade achil ravuna b'Yeshua chada, achil ravina tmania. So when he ate one person ate one, the other guy ate how many? 8 portions.
2, 3.
Right? Amar מאה פאפי ולא חדה רבינה. So the other guy ate a little more. He says it's better to have that guy that eat more and not this one that he eat 8 pieces in one time. So again, the issue is that everyone participate equally in the cost, but then each of them lost 2.5 parts if you count all the numbers. Anyway, תנו רבנן, המנה אחרים על פסחו ועל חגיגתו. So we have part of the Korban Pesach, we have the Chagiga that you join together with the Paschal lamb. So first we eat the Chagiga, and then we eat the Pesach al Soba when we are satiate. So the same way that the Paschal lamb applied to all those people who registered for that, the same applied to Chagiga for the 14. For all of that, so in order to eat it in a sense of kingship, in a satiation. So if someone appointed other for his part, al pischo ve'al chagigato ma'ot shebiado, the money that he received from other chulin, he can use it for others. So in other words, he gave it for an animal that's already sanctified. For Pesach, the Gemarrah asks how that can be. If someone sold his burnt offering, a peace offering to someone else, that he should atone with that, it is like nothing, because the only honor, so all the money you have to give it to the offering of public offering, which means you put it in a pushke, in the boxes in Beit HaMikdash, that you bring them, O Lord, for the Keitz HaMizbeach. So the Gemarrah asks, if it didn't make any type of sale, so Ma'ot Amai Plulin Dava. So what's the reason that the money fall to the fund used for free will offering? So and did not return to the owner. So Tosfot said that if you tell me that you have this act of sale, so it's like the sages put a fine for the fellow that the money will go to the hekdesh. But if it's not any fulfillment, if it's not sale, so why they do it? Amarava knasa. So Rashi here said kansur rabanan lakone. I explained it in my book, Rashi al Shas, that he said kansur rabanan lakone. That he said, Lav achbar haganav elachor haganav. Klumar hamocher lo pasha lakoneh. So in short, there is a concept said, when you see a hole, and you left on the table a bread overnight, and a mice came in and ate the bread. So whom do you blame? Do you blame the mice, or you blame the person who created the hole in the wall? The mice came in. So we said, can't blame the mice, because since you left the hole and you left the bread, it can turn that the mice come in and eat it. So the same here, it's apply. The big question is whom you put a fine against, the seller or the buyer. So even the buyer did not bought this korban, this offering, he lost his money because that money will not come back to him, is go to the hekdesh, in order for him not to do it again. That's basically the foundation, but for sure Tosfot elaborate on that. Umay kol shehen, what does that mean, regular money? Afal gav delo avushavu el arbaa, even they worth only 4 zuzim, that's the currency at that time. V'yavu lo chamisha, when they bring in exchange the buyer 5, afilu ba'ayi eter anam consider, even by 1 zuz in addition, the sages put a fine on him. Amar Ula v'yitem Rabbi Yosha, efshar diyad echavrim bavlai tamid ha'amilta. I wish that our colleague in Babylon explained this, that if he pointed others, the money is chulin. Why זה ההפריש תלה לפסחו וזה הפריש מור לפסחו? One put a lamb for his paschal lamb, and one put money. היח הקדש חל להקדש, how come sanctify, come upon הצדק קטן, מעות שבידו חולין, tell me that that money go and become חולין. אמר רבי, אילב דאוק מרבי יושע לההי, if Rabbi Yoshaya did not put that Mishnah referring to the case, which is בממנה זונה על פסחו, that registered like so now a prostitute on his Paschal lamb, as her payment, I understand the Kodashim Kalim, that is applied to the light Kodashim. ואליבא דרבי יוסי גלילי, אמר קודשים קלים במון בעלימו. אבל בפסח לא משאר איניש, people and not leave it, not leave קודשים. So again, this is a sugya that we continue in Mitzvah Shem tomorrow. First concept in halacha that we learn in many issues, in many subjects, is the avad and lechatchila. In a case of offering whose blood is required to be thrown on the altar, such as peace offering, the blood cannot be poured lechatchila. Therefore, in a case of 5 people who Paschal lamb become mixed up, they are all exempt of bringing the second Pesach. That's the Rambam Hilchot Korban Pesach, chapter 3. Also, we dealt with a Hamemane Acherim al Pischo, which means we have, if one registered others with him for his Paschal lamb, of peace offering lamb, the money that they pay for their share is considered non-sacred. Now, the last halacha is Mishaw Yadav Yafot. If a member of the group for the Paschal lamb is a glutton, the other are entitled to give him his portion and tell him to eat it by himself. Also, if a group is sharing a common meal, they are entitled to tell a glutinous member of the group to take his portion and eat elsewhere by himself. That's Shulchan Aruch Choshen Mishpat 176 and the Rema.